Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Welcome to the Six Bugle Podcast. I'm your host, Rudy Ruiz, and today we have a very special guest. I know I say that a lot about a lot of our guests, but I really mean it this time. We have a very special guest, the IAFC president, and from last year. He's going to be going here pretty soon, and Fire Chief of Bozeman, Montana, Chief Josh Waldo. Chief, how are you, sir?
I'm great, friend. Appreciate the invite. It's always good to catch up, and look forward to talking shop with you here a little bit.
Sounds good. And I know you've been a busy man this past year, being the president of the IFC, and been doing a lot of traveling, yeah?
Yeah, the position puts you on the road a lot. I've had a lot of people ask me, did I count days? And probably glad that I didn't. But yeah, you're definitely on the road a lot. You want to be quick, but you also don't want to be too quick. So trying to find that balance of being somewhere long enough to be present and engaging versus you got to get back home and take care of your business here at your department and at your home life. It's a balance.
Yeah, that's for sure. It didn't seem that long ago when you came off the stage and I ran up to you, gave you a big hug, and wished you well. And now look at we're already back at FRI and ready to pass the baton. So are you excited to do that to the next president?
Yeah, it does go fast. You think a year is going to drag by, but it doesn't. It's like anything else in life. You kind of blink and it's gone. Um, so excited for Chief Wolford coming in. It's kind of awesome to have one of my near and dear friends, taking the baton from me, and look forward to continuing to support her and her efforts as the president moving forward, and slowing down just a little bit for me, which will be a nice thing.
There you go. Well deserved. And we had her on our podcast last year. She was talking about her administrative assistant. She had some great stories that she shared with us. So I just have a couple questions for you. Behind every successful fire chief is often an exceptional administrative assistant. Can you share how your administrative assistant has been instrumental in your success, both as a fire chief and in the IAFC leadership role?
I think for me, I've been very fortunate. I've had very proactive administrative assistants. In fact, I had to transition into a new person during my role as president. It was kind of unplanned family situation. But I've had good proactive support. And what I mean by that is they didn't really wait on me a lot. If anything, they were driving me sometimes to say, "Hey, don't forget," or "I need you to get on top of this. I know you're getting pulled 1,000 different directions." And having someone in that role who's confident enough, and we have that relationship to where they'll come in the office and say, "Hey, you've got to get moving, or you got to work on this, or I need you to help me here."
Hmm.
uh, I've never really looked at it as kind of like boss subordinate. It's kind of like a teammate. I can't do it without them. It's really kind of the relationship you hope you have with your entire command staff, if I'm being honest. But I think for me, as a fire chief, and then me in this role as the president, having people in that seat at the administrative level who can, I can count on, I can trust. I don't know that you could put a price tag on it. And it's kind of interesting. You talked about Chief Wolford and then even Chief Butler before me.
Hmm.
You figured out real quick, or at least I did. If I need something, I went to Sue or Chris. Two fantastic support folks for those two individuals, and for me, it's been Jen and Heather. And I don't know how we would do it without them, to be quite honest with
Yes, and that's one of the reasons why we started this whole program here because we wanted to show our support for our administrative assistants because that's what we truly believe in our faith in them and acknowledge that they are there for us and that's why we kind of jokingly call it the sixth bugle because you're one other
you.
bugle ahead of us, right?
Most of the time, they are ahead of us, and that's a good thing. Trying to balance, in this role of IFC and the fire chief here, it's easy to lose track of things. It's easy to kind of get behind or even bog down. And having someone that's a teammate, as I look at it, right there with me side by side, it's
Definitely.
extremely helpful.
Definitely. And most fire chiefs agree. So, speaking of other fire chiefs, what advice would you give to other chiefs about maximizing this critical partnership?
I think you got to have a good relationship. And once you've got that relationship, you can build trust. I think that's the key. As long as there's a solid amount of trust between, the chief and their administrative support, you can get a lot done. I'll be the first to tell you, it took me a long time to just give away access to my Outlook calendar, to just email receipts in for expense reports. But boy, once you figure out that it's okay to do that, your life gets a lot easier. And it helps, a job is stressful enough. So kind of letting go and letting your team, your support, help you in a manner that, quite honestly, they've been far more capable of. You just as the fire chief had to let go a little bit.
Mhm.
I think that's important. So I think just build the relationship. The trust will come over time, and let go. Just let it go.
Yeah, good advice. That kind of goes into my next question. For administrative assistants who want to elevate their impact and grow professionally within the fire service, what specific areas should they focus on developing?
I think for me, it's learning a little bit about the job. Both Jen and Heather, who I've had during my term as president, just super inquisitive, asking where I'm going, what I'm doing, just because they want to understand, they want to know, and try to relate to what I'm dealing with, what I'm going through. Um, but I think that could even come back to the fire chief level of, you know, understanding what the chief's dealing with, understanding what big projects they have going on. Just that little bit of inquisitive nature to just ask questions and say, "Hey, I'm not trying to pry in your business, but help me understand what you're doing when you say you're going to this event or you're going to do this program." And I think it gives them that better understanding so that they know where that they can fill in and how they can help better.
Right. Right. Good point. And we do have a lot of chiefs that listen to our broadcast, and it's good to hear from you to say that it's okay to share what you're talking about and or share what you're doing so that they have a better understanding because it's always good to have another extra pair of ears and extra pair of eyes to kind of look out for the things that they may be running into or things that they should be concerned about or just things to focus on, right? And it's always going to be important to have an additional support system.
Yeah, I think it's important maybe to slow down a little bit, because I think if you'll slow down and take that time to explain what's going on or explain what you're into, you can actually go faster. So,
Right.
the old saying, "Slow down to go faster." I think it's true.
Yeah.
If you can keep your administrative support up to speed as best possible, it
Right.
will pay off long term because is they're in sync with you, they're going to be able to run as fast as you, and that's going to be super important.
Absolutely. And they're pretty sharp. You know, they're sharper than you might think. And because they've seen things and have done things and from both sides of the aisle, right? Both labor and management. And even when you talk about elected officials or even the community, they've got their eyes and ears everywhere. So it's always good to have that certain level of discernment to kind of run that by them. And again, not necessarily asking them for their advice or even for their opinion, but just sharing what they're experiencing and then letting them share some of their discernment about what exactly is going on or the decisions they may have to make.
Yeah, I would say particularly in our department, we're a small department, 3 stations, 67 employees here. Um, they probably have a better gauge or pulse of what's going on at any given time in this fire department than anybody else does. Because, they're sitting in things with the chiefs, they're sitting in things with the company level, there's people constantly coming through their office. They've probably got the best read of what's going on of anybody else in our organization.
Yes, you are absolutely right. So, looking ahead through your lens as the IAFC president, what are the top three priorities that you think the fire service need to address both administratively and operationally to better serve our communities, let's say within the next decade?
Oh wow. I'm gonna squish those together for my first one, Rudy, in
Okay.
terms of engagement and operations. I think the fire chief's from a codes and standards, prevention, CRR perspective, have got to stay more engaged.
Mhm.
We can't just keep putting this work off on the Bureau or the fire marshal and say, they got it. Because quite honestly, it's where we're falling short the most.
Mhm.
As we continue to lose ground in the codes and standards space, we continue to see, fires across this country that, quite honestly, with better pre-fire mitigation, whether we're talking about the wildfire space or the codes and standards in the built environment, we could have reduced the loss or maybe even saved lives. And so I think fire chiefs have to be engaged in that at a much higher level.
Right.
And how I squish operations into that is we need the operation people to be our eyes out in the field as well. So, whether it's, we're going on a fire alarm in a commercial building, having crews that are looking at that building from the perspective of, hey, I think something looks wrong here, or I'm not real sure that's right, and engaging back with the Bureau.
Mhm.
They're not only keeping the community safe, but if they ever do show up to that building and it is that fire, that event, hopefully we've done everything on the front end to, keep that building as safe as possible for both, like I said, the public and the responders. So
Right.
I'll squish those together. I think another one that's, probably super important for us as a fire service is staying better connected. Um, we've seen just in my term as the president here, a lot of conversations about the future of the grants program.
Mhm.
We saw the NFA get closed for a little while.
Mhm.
We're talking about, are we going to have FEMA? And the fire service as a whole has to continue to speak with one voice. And Dr. Lori told us that for 4 years, one voice. We have far more strength when we're together than we do, individually. And so I
Yeah.
think keeping everybody kind of connected. I think we've lost a little bit of that momentum right now in the absence of Dr. Lori and a U.S. fire administrator. I think it's important. It's easy to get distracted by what's going on at your local level and your state level. But at the national level, I think the fire service has got to stay connected. We got to keep working with each other to keep that kind of one voice theme if we're going to have any hope of success into the future. So I think those are the two that would pop for me. I know you asked for three, but those are the two that, coming off the heels of my presidency, I see the most.
No, that's very good, and you're absolutely right. We have made some tremendous progress by combining our strengths together in the group that Dr. Lori Moore had Merrill had championed. And I think we got kind of the wind knocked out of us, but I think that for the most part, we understand the necessity of maintaining that level of commitment. And it's still very important because it's beyond politics. It's beyond parties. It's about people's lives, right? And not just ours, not just the fire service as a whole, but the international community as a whole that we're directly affecting. And I think that knowing people like you and those that were represented up on stage a couple years ago understand that. And despite all the adversity that they've experienced, I think that we're gonna dust ourselves off and say, you know what, we had a mission. We promised the International Association that we were on a mission, and I truly believe that we're gonna get back on our feet.
Yeah, I think we've seen the blueprint for success. I mean, if you look at how far uh, we came as a fire service during the 4 years under Dr. Lori, I think, yeah, that's probably a good way of saying it. We kind of took a gut punch and got the wind knocked out of us, but we've seen the blueprint and we know what to do. And it's time to dust ourselves off and, you know, tighten up the bootstraps and let's get back to work because we know how to do this. So let's
Absolutely.
don't lose sight of what brought us so much success.
Right. Right. And nothing's really changed. Our commitment should still be there, right? Just because there's been some adversity, this is what's gonna determine our growth and our strength. And I think we're gonna become stronger because of it.
Yeah, no different than a fire department. You hope you've built a team and have a culture that one day when you walk out as the fire chief, they just take it to another level. I think that's the greatest compliment a leader could ever be given is that
Absolutely.
you build a team that one day they don't need you anymore, and that's okay. And it's you go on to do something else, or you go on into retirement, and that team that you've built takes it to another level.
Right.
I think that's so cool.
Absolutely. And that's why you did it, right? You didn't do it for
Yeah,
yourself. You did it so that it can survive after you and everybody's happier because of it. And I
right.
had no qualms when I left. I knew for a fact that they were going to be successful, even more successful than they were.
Mhm.
And I firmly believe that's going to continue. So yeah, I think we're on the same page on that.
Oh yeah.
All right, Chief. Well, thank you very much. I look forward to seeing you again at FRI this year. By the time we broadcast this podcast, you will already be on the horizon and moving on and doing other things and passing the baton on. But I do appreciate your tenure as the IFC president, and I've always known you're going to do a good job. And who would have thought that you'd had to deal with the issues that you had to deal with, but you stayed strong and you maintained with your chin up high and stood forth and withstood all the pressures and issues and you represented us very proudly. So I just want to say from my heart to yours, I just want to thank you for that.
I greatly appreciate that, Chief. We were kind of talking before we started about successes of the year, and we got a lot of curveballs.
Sure.
So if you were to ask me, like, what's the number one thing we got done, I think for me it would be that we kept moving forward. We kept standing up when we were thrown these challenges and saying, nope, we're going to do what's right for the fire service. So I hope if there's anything from my tenure, people, like, he worked hard every day, did everything that he possibly could for the fire service and the association. And if that's the review, I'll take that all day long.
Right. I think you were the right man for the job, regardless of who'd have thought you'd had to go through all of this, right? But I think we had the right person for the job.
Appreciate that. Thank you, friend.
Chief, thank you very much for your time. I certainly do appreciate it. And well, by the time we have this broadcast, we're going to be very, very close to our Six Bugle Leadership Conference held on September 17th through the 19th here in Perrysburg, Ohio. So we hope you're looking forward to. We have quite a few registrants here, Chief, and we
Awesome.
have 8 different states represented. So we're constantly growing. And may have to think about a new venue here pretty
Wow.
soon.
Well, that's good. That's a good thing.
Yeah, we're still looking forward to the one from Montana, though. So I'll keep an eye on that one.
All right. Sounds good, friend. I appreciate you.
All right, you betcha. Thank you all for joining us here at the Six Bugle Podcast. Take care.